those of you that don't know anything about a Toro Grandstand, this is your first look. Look at how wide this is, and it curves and everything. It's got this little release mechanism right here. And then it just comes right down just like that. So you see how wide it is? And it curves up on the sides, which this gives you extra stability. This gives you extra stability on hillsides. So when you're riding on hills, you can stand side, you can, spread your feet out and stand on the edges like this to shift your weight to balance yourself better. And just in general, it's just a good wide platform, and it's really good for me. I'm a taller person, so this is a nice wide platform for me. I feel comfortable standing on it. If you're shorter, you usually have a more narrow stance. It's probably not going to be as big of an issue, but because I'm taller and I normally have a wide stance, if I'm standing on this all day long, I want to have the similar wide stance. And this has it, so that makes it very comfortable. Plus, it's very shock absorbing as well. So you see there's that little bounce, there's that little flex there, which helps you when you're going over the bumps. It absorbs the bumps a lot better, as well as the size of the tires are absorbing a lot of the bumps and holes also. I've noticed that some yards that have certain holes and dips, this rides right over it because of the wider stance in between the two wheels, as well as the size of the wheels, are able to just ride over a lot of things that on my walk behind, I pretty much hit every single bump and hole, and it was a lot of wear and tear on my legs, my feet, my back. Riding on a Velke, there's really no shock absorbing for that. So this has a lot more shock absorption, which is also helpful. And you click it and that's it. You're back in action, you're ready to go. Now you can use it as a walk behind if you need to. You can stand right behind it like this, and you can just control it, as a walk behind. If it's really wet and slippery, or if it's some slopes, some hills that you're not comfortable with. But I will tell you from experience so far that because you're standing on it, there's more weight on the back tires. So I noticed that there's not as much traction when you're walking behind it like this versus when you're standing on the platform, because your weight is now on pressing down on the wheels, which is giving it more weight, more traction. I tend to not really utilize the walk behind function, but it is good to know that it's there if I need it. Loading and unloading on the trailer, sometimes that's convenient. The main reason of folding this up is so that there's more space on your trailer or wherever you need to be. So there's a much smaller footprint when on your trailer when you fold it up like this. It doesn't take up much more room when it's down, but just folding it up like that gives it a little bit of extra space in between, and you can use it as a walk behind if you want to for short durations. So one of the things that I like about the new 2016 Grandstand that's distinctively different, that you can notice when you see it, it's a 2016 Grandstand, is the gas tank. As you can see, it's now transparent instead of black. I have some markers on here to tell you exactly what your level of gas is. So in the sun it's kind of hard to see, but you can tell the difference right here. You can see the gas right there, and this is all empty. So I'm about halfway down my tank. Also, they made the gas can a lot bigger than it used to be so that you can hold more gas and keep going for longer without having to stop and fill it up. It's an awesome new feature that they added. So this is the 48-inch Toro Grandstand. It's the 2016 model. It's the new updated version. The only difference between the 48-inch here and the 52-inch, other than the deck size, is the engine power. So the 52-inch has a 25 horsepower Kohler engine, and this one has a 23 horsepower Kohler engine. The tires are the same. Still have the same nice big meaty tires, 20-inch Super Turf. But so I chose to go with the 23 horsepower Kohler engine, the EFI. That's fuel injected. That's the most efficient engine that they have when you get the fuel inject. So it's going to be powerful and more efficient. You do have two options for the 48-inch Grandstand, the new one. You can get the non-EFI or the EFI. The non-EFI is 22 horsepower, so you're losing 1 horsepower, not that big, but that's all. But it's 22 horsepower. This one with the EFI is 23 horsepower, so it definitely is powerful. I don't know if I would notice a difference between this and the 25. I did demo the 52-inch and that was 25 horsepower. Honestly, I can't tell a difference because when you're on a yard, you're not going, full speed anyway, and both of them, they go 10 miles an hour. So 48-inch on up, you go 10 miles an hour now instead of 8 like the old Grandstand. So that's another benefit of the 2016 Grandstand, is they increased the speed. So along with the bigger fuel tank and the bigger tires, better engine, more speed, more power. It gets you back and forth to the next property, back to your trailer, and so on, especially if you have a lot of houses in the same street like I do. So that's really going to help the fact that it's 10 miles an hour now, and I can definitely feel that speed. So I really can't tell a difference between the 23 horsepower and the 25 horsepower that I demoed earlier in, a few weeks ago. I'm sure I probably won't put anywhere near the amount of workload on the engine for me to even see the difference, but I would say it's a negligible amount for the majority of us. So still very powerful, great engine. Now what I like about this 48-inch Grandstand versus my 48-inch walk behind is, aside from the tires being bigger, they're wider apart. What that means is they line up more with the deck. You see the deck only comes out a little bit past the wheel on this side, and same on this side, just a little bit past this side. So basically it's the same exact width, minus a half an inch maybe at the most on each side. What that means is, on the walk behind, the wheels are closer together. In addition to them being smaller, obviously, they're closer together, and the deck is the same size, but the deck sticks way out past the wheels. So the wheels on the walk behind are like way in here compared to this deck. So the deck sticks way out on both sides, and what that means is you're cutting width. The stripes that you make are outlined by your wheels. Your wheels define your stripes. So in a sense, I always felt like I was losing several inches of that 48-inch deck because it would just overlap, both sides every time I turned and went back up the next stripe, because the wheels were what was outlining the stripes. So it really made no difference that I had a 48-inch deck. I might as well have had a 40-inch deck instead of a 48-inch deck, because that's about the width that the wheels were. So I kind of felt like it was a waste. So now with this, I feel like it's a lot more productive. Now I can have a true 48-inch wide stripes. I actually measured my stripes last year, and they were about 40 inches, a little bit less wide, not 48. Now this one I can have a full 48-inch width. Stripes will actually be 48 inches wide instead of 40 or 38 inches, whatever it was when I measured it last with my 48-inch walk behind. So that's a big difference for me, because it actually is going to increase my productivity a little bit, because now I'm never overlapping. I can stay true to 48 inches of cut. There's no overlap needed. So that's going to increase my time, and I'm big on making my stripes look good, high quality, and that makes a big difference for me. So that's one of those things that's basic, but possibly overlooked at times. So let me go over some key points about the new 2016 Toro Grandstand. So they took the engine and they moved it back. They opened up the whole front of the mower. So now you have easier access to everything down here. They still have this guard. They still have a guard up here to protect the engine from any branches or any other bushes or debris that you might come up across as you're mowing. It easily folds down so that you have access to everything in here, all the belts, and the grease point here. There's one grease point, and that leads me to the next thing, is you don't have to grease anything on the mower regularly like you had to in the past. They've made everything very minimal maintenance. So the wheels here, you see there's covers, so it's all covered up and sealed up so the dust won't get in there, and these don't need to be greased but once a year. Same thing with the grease point down in there for the spring. And that's the same thing for this, only needs to be done once a year. Eliminated the regular greasing of all the other mowers in the past, which is a huge help because it is something easily forgettable, and especially in dry conditions you have to grease a lot, so that really makes it a lot easier, almost virtually maintenance free. Moving the engine back off of the deck allows you to raise and lower the deck without the weight of the engine being on the deck. They also have dual control levers, meaning you can operate with the right or the left. In the past, it was only the right that you had to put down, and it didn't matter with the left. So if you let go of the left, it didn't matter. It was the right that was what controlled everything. Now it's left or right. So you can be left or right-handed. You can control either one. That also is a nice convenience, because sometimes you need to do something with your left hand or your right hand. You can still have your other hand on the other one, and it doesn't shut everything off. That's another standard feature there. As I said before, there's a larger gas tank, so you got that. Again, more access to your mower. This pad, you unscrew these here, take the pad down, and you can remove these pieces here and remove the gas tank also, so that you can get inside back in there and you can work on anything that you need to back there. Have access to the hydro pumps, which is another thing. They eliminated all of the hoses that used to be hanging all off of the engine and going directly down into the wheels. Things all concealed, so you don't have hoses sticking out that can get snagged on, or just more things to crack and leak and wear over time that need to be replaced. So again, less maintenance there. This also now goes up to 10 miles an hour instead of the 8 miles an hour of the previous Grandstand, so that's also awesome. Gets you to and from each property faster. It's also easier to do an oil change now. It's all right here, so you just lower the deck all the way, put the pan underneath there, and unscrew this, and oil run out, and you're all done. Put it all back on there. Here's the filter to change. That's some more easy maintenance. When you're from up here on the platform looking down, with the engine back here and that front being opened up, you have a lot more clearance now to see everything around the mower and the deck. Something else to point out is as soon as you shut off, as soon as you let go of the control levers or push the PTO switch down to have the blade stop, you can immediately see they have a hole right here, and you can see the bolt spinning or not, which means the belts have stopped. So you can immediately know when the blade stops so that you can do whatever you got to do. So one more thing I had to get used to from having a walk behind here to the grandstand. This is the TBar Control, and it has band brakes. It has a band brake because it's belt drive. So in order to stop this, you have to pull back on this bar right here. So you pull back on that, and it literally comes to a complete stop. You know, works really well, brakes are really well. So when you're going downhill, I'm naturally pulling back on this bar, which seems to make sense, to pull back, to slow down when you're going down a hill. So when I got on the grandstand, I was in a habit of pulling back, so whenever I would start to go down a hill, I would instinctively start to pull back, and then the wheels will start going in reverse. And normally that just spun, you know, the wheels would just spin and dig up a little bit of the turf or just slip in the grass, and then I would actually start sliding down the hill a little bit. So I'd have to make a quick adjustment and, you know, go forward with one wheel, you know, as carefully as possible to turn the, you know, turn sideways a little bit more so I'm not taking a nosedive anywhere. But, you know, I was used to the belt drive. I could literally just go straight down a hill, nose, you know, nose first, front first, and just be pulling back on this handle, and I wouldn't have to worry about anything unless the grass was super muddy or wet, and then the wheels would slide a little bit even with this pulling on the brake. So I had to get used to that, but it's fine. It, you know, it just took like a few days of me like getting out of the habit of pulling back to stop or slow down, because actually with the grandstand, if you keep the handles in neutral, it automatically slows down on its own. And then obviously if you want to stop, you put the barking brake on, and then you actually come to a complete stop. So I got used to that real quick, but that's just something, another difference between the walk behind, a belt drive walk behind that I have, the TBar Control from Toro, versus the Hydro Grandstand from Toro. Thanks for watching my video review of the 2016 Toro Grandstand. For a chance to win this hat, just go ahead and comment below by the date listed in the description. Thanks again for watching.